How to create allergen risk management strategies for the workplace. Once a risk assessment has been completed, the organisation must develop strategies to reduce the risk of an individual's exposure to known triggers or allergens. This may include creating, organising and facilitating organisational policies, staff training, management of food-related risks, management of potential exposure to insect stings and bites, emergency response procedures for all scenarios, sourcing current evidence-based information and guidelines from relevant peak and government bodies, developing a schedule for undertaking regular checks on the adrenaline injector stock to ensure that they are not out of date or discoloured. Exactly how an organisation manages a risk will depend on the context specific to that organisation and should be in consultation with the at-risk individual or their parents and guardians. Here are some examples of risk management strategies. The first could be to eliminate or substitute high-risk materials with safer alternatives. For example, a manufacturing plant identifies an epoxy resin is triggering allergic contact dermatitis in workers, and it transitions to a non-sensitizing alternative product. Implement accurate allergen labelling. This means ensuring that all packaging, menus and ingredient lists clearly state the presence of allergens. Use consistent and regulated allergen labelling, for example, bold type. An example of this could look like a bakery updating all product labels to clearly state contains milk, egg, wheat, soy, and includes may contain traces of peanuts, where relevant. Segregate allergen-containing ingredients. This means to physically separate allergens in storage, preparation, and production. Use dedicated utensils and equipments for allergen-free items. Clearly label chemicals or products that contain known allergens and store these separately. This could also go so far as to restrict access to trained personnel. For example, a university science lab labels all latex-containing materials and stores them in a separate cupboard with warning signage. Or a cafe uses colour-coded cutting boards and knives specifically for gluten-free meals to prevent cross-contact with wheat-based products. The organisation must have emergency plans and adrenaline auto-injectors on site. Stock and maintain these where permitted, and train staff in their use and in first aid for anaphylaxis. For example, a school campus or corporate office may keep EpiPens in first aid kits and run annual anaphylaxis management drills. Designate allergen-free zones. Create allergen-free zones in cafeterias, production lines, or shared kitchenettes. Isolate areas with high allergen use, for example, dust-generating machinery or labs with animal exposure. Another example could be a tech company introduces a nut-free pantry space to protect employees that have a severe nut allergy. Develop allergen management plans. Include allergen control in the company's food safety or health and safety management system. Review and update it regularly with new risk assessments. For example, a food production facility integrates allergen risk zones into their hazard analysis and critical control points plan. Train staff on allergen awareness. Provide ongoing training for employees on allergen identification, handling procedures, and emergency responses to anaphylaxis. For example, a hotel trains all kitchen and front of house staff to recognise allergen icons on menus and how to respond to a guest reporting a food allergy. Engage with customers and employees. Create channels for customers and staff to disclose allergies or concerns. Encourage transparent dialogue and encourage staff to disclose any allergies confidentially to HR or WHS officers. Keep records with consent to adjust environments or protocols. For example, an office worker discloses a severe bee allergy. The company adjusts landscaping schedules to avoid peak bee seasons and stores an EpiPen in the first aid kit. An airline includes an allergy declaration during online check-in and instructs cabin crews to manage food service accordingly. It is important to identify who is responsible for implementing each control strategy and include this in their workload while implementation is occurring. These tasks should not be in addition to other tasks that already form a complete workload for that person. It is important that they are prioritised to ensure safety is not compromised. That same person may be responsible for reviewing and updating that control strategy during reviews. All strategies should be documented. Once these documents and policies are in place, the organisation has a duty to review the effectiveness of risk minimisation strategies in order to maintain compliance and safety. This should be completed in accordance with the required review schedule and provide feedback to relevant staff.